Hi guys. Ooh, let's see here. There we go. Hi everybody. Sorry I am so late. Had a little problem with my computer wanting to turn on this morning. There we go. Making sure I got all that so I could see it. But I'm Monique Leslie. I'm Misfit Crafter from Misfit Crafter Studio, and I made the shrink jewelry, and I lost my earrings this morning. I had them this morning. And I think somebody borrowed them because they were on my desk so that I can make sure that I can wear them so I can show them for you guys. And they disappeared. I have my pieces from new ones that I started making, but I can't seem to find the originals at all. So let's see here. There we go. Thank you for joining, guys. So yeah, so I made the shrink jewelry, which I loved making, and now I can't stop making it every time I have it. I don't have the new ones. I have my little pieces, which I can't, for some reason, I can't find them. All I have is these itty bitty pieces. I know these are tiny, but there's these itty bitty pieces on my desk, and my new ones disappeared. I can show you that if you get if you're getting a pass, I can show you the leather ones that are very similar that I made as well, which these are the leather ones that come in the past. So you're going to see that on my guide, there's actually a guide to making these versions as well. But for some reason, all my acrylic ones disappeared on me. It shows me, you know how they always tell you that when you clean up and then you can't find anything? That's what happened. I cleaned up and now I can't find anything. See, does it matter which side you draw on? How do you know which side it is which if both sides are smooth? If both sides are smooth, it doesn't matter. If you're using the clear, it doesn't matter which side you're actually using. If you are using the frosted or the printable one, you're going to use the rough side. But if you're using the clear, it doesn't matter which side you're using. They're both the same. Those ones don't actually have a specific one. It's like a joint project for my husband and me. What printable shrink plastic do you recommend with an inkjet printer? I'm wanting to try this, but I don't have any stamp supplies, so I thought printable plastic you mentioned might work out. Really, any brand would work. I've used the Shrinky Dink brand before, except the only thing that I believe I mentioned too is that when I tried doing the printable version, I had a little bit of a hard time cutting through the printable version because I noticed that the printable version actually has a little bit of a coating on top of it. It has this little bit of a film on it that I couldn't seem to get through. So it would cut all the way through all the plastic and the film would still be there. I tried seeing if there was a way to like kind of peel the film or do anything like that. It's not like it's not some sort of like protective film. Guess it must be the film that you're printing on. Um, the only thing is like if you do use a printable one, just be prepared that you might have to cut off the area that the film is on. So like it'll cut all the way down, but then you might just kind of have to rip it off. So it's not horrible. It's just sometimes you have to do a little bit extra work. I had tried it with different blades, knife blades, things like that, but definitely you might want a little bit more for that one. Let's see, what is the best to color with paint markers, acrylic paint, Sharpie, alcohol markers, color pencils, watercolor, etc. Okay, so I did a couple experiments when I was doing it with coloring. So if you are going to color them, you're going to want to, like, say, I do have, I was just looking at you right now. Let me show you something. Okay, here's a little bit of a difference. So this right here is a little button. This one's actually already shrunk, but this one was the print. This is actually the printable Shrinky Dink paper. It's a little bit hard to see, but this was like already, this is the printed one. But when you're going to color them, there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind. It's the side that you print that you actually stamped on and the side you didn't. If you want to color them before you shrink them, then you would use something like a colored pencil, an alcohol marker. Those would be the best. I noticed that if I paint them before with acrylic paints, the acrylic paint itself, especially if you're going to make something really small, will end up kind of bubbling up a little bit or shrinking. It doesn't completely shrink with the shrinking ink. The alcohol markers and the all the other alcohol markers, color pencils, things like that will shrink with the plastic, where the acrylic won't. So sometimes you'll end up with a little bit of bubbling, and that's where I was showing you those little guys that I was doing. Oh, these are going to be a little hard to see because I try to make really itty bitty guys. So these are like itty bitty little beads. Oh, fell. But I had tried to do it before and it works, but it ends up with like a rough kind of bubbled back. If you can see it, too swollen. But yeah, oh, I know. It ends up with like a kind of like a rough bubbled back that's kind of funny when you do it. Here, there we go. Let's see if you can see it. So, there. You can barely see it from there, but it does end up a little bit rougher, but it still looks pretty. This was colored before with acrylic paint markers, but it did end up, I saw it when I was heating it, it would get little bubbles in it. So it's a little funny on the back. So if you do that, you're definitely going to want to put some sort of gloss or something over it. But other than that, I would say if you're going to do it before, do the color pencils. I like it too because when you're heating it up and everything, and once it starts shrinking, the color becomes more vibrant. So if you do color pencils, you don't have to worry about seeing like the lines and things in it, but make sure that you color it completely. So just make sure that you go back one way, go back the other way with a color pencil just to get it fully colored. Alcohol inks will let it dry for a little bit before heating it up, just to make sure it's completely covered also. So like just make sure you're doing like the whole thing on the side that you stamped. And that also keeps it so that when after it shrinks on the other side where the glossy side is, you don't have like weird colorations if you do it all on one side. That's the only thing. But you can use just about anything to color it that is not water soluble. It even kind of works with regular markers, but like regular water-based markers, but you will see that it can still wash off. Sometimes it kind of gets in the nooks and crannies of the plastic after you melt it, but you'll see it still wash off. Sharpies are the best. Those work great. Any kind of Sharpie permanent marker type of thing are great for coloring it in before, which is really good for like little details and stuff like that. Let me see here. There we go. I had so much fun with the shrinking inks when my kids were growing up. So excited to be able to do it again. And the heat tool tools again. Yeah, heat tool makes it so much easier. I would always freak out at what I like when I watch them in the oven. I want to always be there, like holding something to flatten them out. But like I said in the video, if you wait, be really patient, eventually they will flatten themselves out. Every once in a while, if you're doing a really big piece, it makes it a lot easier because if you have like some sort of tweezers or something like that, chopsticks, anything, if something's really, really big, then I recommend the heat tool just because you can unfold it a little easier. That's the only time when it shrinks that it might fold over on itself and get stuck to itself. I had that problem with some of the bigger pieces. So, so like anything like this big shrinks pretty well, but every once in a while, like these two tips would get stuck to each other while it's shrinking, and then I have to like kind of undo it. But doing it with the heat gun just makes it so much faster and so much easier, so you don't have to worry about it like curling on itself, wondering if I forget things in the oven all the time. I am a notorious burnt cookie maker. So I have to watch it because I will forget that I stuck it in there because my ADHD brain will walk off and forget that I put it in the oven. And even if you do forget it in the oven, or leave it in there for a little longer, it's not really gonna completely hurt it. It takes a long time for it to burn. But yeah, definitely love that instead. Mhm. I'm thinking this might be a way to make some sun catchers. Yeah. I was trying this one when I was playing with it for myself. This was actually what I wanted it to be, a sun catcher, but I completely forgot to put another hole. So that's why there's like 3 little holes up top, and I forgot to do it. That's what I wanted to do with this one, but I want to make it really, really big. I think that'd be so cute, just having it there. I've made, like I said, this one is a pin. It's actually a really big button, but I haven't finished it completely. But what I like to do with these ones is put button backers on these, and then I'll put UV resin on the top to make them shiny, and so they become really cute, really big buttons. I carry some of those in my shop where I make like bigger pins. Here's one that I made. So like you can do sun catchers, you can do button pins. Let's see, this one just has a UV resin backing for like button pins. Um, I think it would be cute. I would definitely use the completely clear for the for any kind of like sun catcher or anything like that. That'd be really, really super cute to do it that way. What power is the heat gun? I'm not sure. It's a regular stamping heat gun. This one says 120 volt to, at bad eyes, you guys, to like 200 watt, 88, 200 watts. All I can see. It's big. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. So this is one of the ones that I use, but it's just the standard ones that you get like at a craft store. Um, I don't know about the M store, the typical the one that they carry at the M store, you know, that one craft store. I have one, but mine keeps getting burnt out. That's the only thing. This is their old one, and I love this one, but the other one I can't keep it on more than probably 20 seconds or so before it wants to turn off on me. But any heat tool from that's used for stamping, those are perfect. So anything like that. If you're going to use a higher powered one, if you're going to use like a one that's like in the tool section at Home Depot or something, just get the lowest one, something that has a lower setting. It's not so much for the shrinking ink itself. You just don't want to burn your surface. That's why when I used it, let me grab this big guy. I have this big heating mat that I use for my stamp press, my heat press stuff and all of that for when I'm pressing t-shirts and things. Something on your surface is more important. The tool itself, it doesn't really matter. You just want to be careful, you know. It's just some of them can melt through things pretty easy, so the lower of them is the best. I just wouldn't recommend like a blow dryer or something like that because that's just going to blow it away and it really doesn't get the heat that you need. Is that like, yeah, it's like the Cricut heat pad. So you can use it, you can use like a Cricut heat pad if you have something like that. Uh, I like that it's thicker. I've had those other like what do they call it? Silpat mats and things like that that you can bake with. That's not bad either. It's just protecting your surface more than anything, depending on what heat gun that you actually get. The heat guns can get a little scary. You want to be careful with your fingers and whatever else you're going to want. Like if you're going to get a stick or something, make sure it's good long stick, something that you're not going to burn your fingers with while it's under the heat gun. And ruin your nails. My nails tend to bend because I'm not paying attention. I'm holding something down with the heat and with the heat gun, and they'll bend your nails. Let's see, do we have any other questions there? No? Okay. But yeah, so I had fun making them, and then I was kind of surprised. The one biggest thing that I loved about making them is that they don't have to look like little kids' jewelry because we've all made like the Shrinky Dinks when we were kids. I loved making Shrinky Dinks when I was a kid. It was one of my favorite things to do. Um, every time we'd go to the store, I always want one of those little Shrinky Dinks kits, those and the color forms and everything else like that. But it was really fun to be able to make something that doesn't look like a little kid's jewelry. One of the really fun things is just, you know, having some, I recommend either the UV resin for making them just look a little shinier, protecting the color, all of that. Um, or adding the triple thick, which I love the triple thick. That one makes it a lot easier. I have my bottle back here. I was just looking at it. Here it is. So this is that triple thick that I used. This stuff is like perfect for coating everything like that, which I absolutely love. Um, but it makes it really fun. Let's see, could I use the same oven? Yeah, oven I cook with. Yeah. Yes, as far as I know, you can. It's not one of those things that where you bake it and it would cause any fumes and things in it. Um, that is one thing I've never seen the precaution on it, but it's totally up to you. I can't say 100%, but it does tell me that you can put it in your regular oven. So I haven't seen anything against it. That was one thing I was looking at too. But like I said, if you have the heat gun, it makes it easier. Um, in my old craft room, I used to have like a dedicated toaster oven that I used to put like things like that and anything else that I needed to shrink my resins and my like plastics, anything that I needed to. I used to have like a dedicated oven for all of that though. So it's totally up to you. Like I said, I didn't see any warnings on there saying that you couldn't. Um, when I was doing some research just to make sure, I couldn't find anything that really didn't say you can't, that some people just don't like to, just in case. But I never saw anything that was like hard, no, you shouldn't do that. So like I said, it's up to you. The one thing I can tell you is that I went and I just looked on like OfferUp or something like that, and I looked for like the cheapest little toaster oven that somebody was selling, so that I had that one in my craft room. That way it didn't mess with anything, and two, that way I was not taking up the toaster oven and having to run downstairs all the time. Let's see. I like the look of Ranger's glossy accents. Would that work? I love glossy accents. I will tell you, it would work. The only thing with glossy accents, and I was just looking at mine, is I don't know if they've changed it at all a little bit more, but you can see how, I don't know if you guys can see my version. Um, I've noticed if it stays fairly clear, but I have noticed that sometimes glossy accents will slightly change color um, after a long while. So I mean, this jewelry, it's fun costumey, you know, costume jewelry, but it's still, if you want it to not change any color, I wouldn't highly recommend it. I love my glossy accents. I use it on everything, but I have a feeling it might change. Like, it's kind of hard to see it right here, but if you can see a little bit of a yellowy tint to it, it does have a slightly yellow tint to it once it dries or it's been in the sun for a little while, I've noticed. Um, so you can, it just probably just won't last too long is all. All right. Yeah, but if you guys want to see any more things like that, I'm always doing something. If you guys want to check out my website, it's misfitcrafterstudio.com. You guys can grab yourself a, with the freebies, you guys you can sign up for the membership on my website as well. Membership is completely free on my website. You guys can always find more tutorials and stuff that we're always doing. And if you want to, you can also join any of the groups on my website. Basically, I kind of think of it kind of like a Facebook just for crafters on my website right now. It seems to be the direction it's gone. I didn't have like 100% complete plan with my website, and it just seems to have taken off in a whole new direction that I'm really loving. But we have a really fun community that you can join on there with other Cricut members and things like that as well. There's a Cricut group in there. Um, and everybody on there likes doing all kinds of different things right now. We have a big like junk journal presence right now, but we definitely have a good sized Cricut audience on there, card makers, um, card makers and scrapbookers and knitters and anything else that you can think of that people like to make. I love it to see everybody join the website. Uh, what else do we have going on right now? We have lots of sales and stuff going on the website as well because we're always making something. What glue would you recommend for putting, say, pin backings on it? I use UV resin. I don't use glue for mine. Um, if you look on my website and my shop, there's a few pins on there, but I actually use UV resin. So what I would do is I shrink all the pin and everything, both sides, let all that happen. And then I put UV resin on one side, put that under the heat lamp. I love UV resin because I don't like regular resin because I don't like the smell of it. So I don't work with regular resin. So I use UV. So I do one side. I um, then put the pin back. I put a little bit of UV resin just to help it hold it in place. Uh, and then I put the pin and then I will put the resin and let that go ahead and cure under the UV lamp. You have to kind of act quick though, because what will happen is when you put the pin on, it starts to slide with the UV resin. Like if you were put it on, like gliding it on water or something, it starts to glide. So make sure you're prepared with like a quick batch to stick it. But yeah, UV resin. Um, you could use something like what I want to call it, like the crazy glue or something like that would work as well. I just, again, smells get to me, so the UV resin was the easiest, and it's pretty inexpensive now for that little bit you have. Do you have a proportion ratio of how much items shrink? Um, it depends on the shrink plastic that you buy. They're all going to be different. That's why if you in the video, we first make a guide. That's the very first thing you want to do. But yeah, if you watch the presentation from today, if you watch my video from today, we actually make a guide first. That's the very first thing we do. So I recommend making that guide, labeling it with whatever shrink plastic that you are using. So if you ever change it up, you'd know what it is. And basically, we make a guide ruler. So we basically make a ruler, shrink it, and you can tell how much it shrunk. So that's the first thing we do in my video before even making the earrings. So definitely make that guide first. It's a big helpful hint to see how it's going to do it. Plus, I explain in the video is that it's the way you lay it down can shrink different. It looks like we are out of time. Sorry for being so late. If you guys have questions, you guys can always ask me on the Facebook group. So sorry about being late there. We had some technical difficulties trying to get on here today. But yeah, so thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you guys later. I'm waiting to see everybody else's presentations too. Thanks so much.